Video observation journal for the field work that I'm doing. I always sit here in front of the window and it gives a lot of kind of a halo there effect. Okay, what I am doing is I'm observing a kindergartner that I work with during the school year. The mother has been so kind to allow that we would meet, even though school was over May the 22nd. The mom is allowing me to meet with this little guy on an almost daily basis to collect my data. He is a kindergartner on the spectrum. I don't know everything about the terminology and all of the above. I'm very much still learning. But he is what I would call a high-functioning little boy with more like Asperger's than necessarily a mod to severe. He does have a tendency towards the echolalic speech, and so the one EBP, but to me all of the EBPs are connected to something else. I can say the one I chose was modeling, and I'm actually going to do some peer modeling with this one, as I have a 5-year-old grandson who's going to also help me out. The little fella does very well with modeling. He repeats, and the reason I got this idea is I watched the speech and language teacher working with him one day before school let out, and he would use one or two words, and she would say, "Now can you say that in a complete sentence?" And she would model the sentence for him, and then he would repeat it back. So he loves jelly beans, my reinforcer. So I met him at the library one day last week, and I took my bag full of jelly beans, and it happened to be that a 3-year-old showed up to play, and I watched how he parallel played, but actually he interactively played with this young man as well. And the young men would say dinosaurs. There was little trucks and cars there with plastic dinosaurs, and he would repeat share dinosaurs. And he most often will say 2 words or 3 words. And as his mom has pointed out, and I've taken copious notes of what she's telling me, he really will use the words, but out of sequence. He might say, "Want me jelly beans?" instead of saying, "I would like to have some jelly beans." And he's 5, and so there's definitely room for growth. There's definitely room for improvement. So the fidelity is, I have so far seen him a couple of days, and I'm monitoring and I'm seeing the same patterns, the same thing. And so I've already started implementing modeling, adult modeling, which his mother does it all the time as well, and he's very good at picking up. There's an academic thing that I would like to teach him, and that's addition. He's also, like I said, he's on my caseload anyway, and he's got some IEP goals that I've set for him last year that I'll also be working with him next year in our program. And so it's kind of a win-win. I'm working towards the IEP goal that I set for him to be able to add. He can count, and he has the one-on-one correlation. Like I say, he's pretty high functioning. He is excellent about sight reading. He cites words. If you show him the word 3, he doesn't necessarily have phonics skills, but he definitely knows his phonics. He knows the sounds, but he does it more from the tapes or the CDs or the little learning videos that she shows him. B says buh, buh, buh. He'll repeat more often than necessarily cognitively being aware that anytime you see the B, it starts a word or it's in a word, it's going to make the buh sound. He's just a super little guy. He's high energy. If I had him all day long, I can tell you I'd be worn out. He's very high energy. So the goal is, every day it's been really cool. We kind of met at a different spot, different place. One day we met at the library, and I just basically took a lot of notes just to see what his speech pattern was like, what his approach is, and I'll say the saving grace for this. I'll say this much. The saving grace for this little guy is he has cousins. One is 6 and one is about 4 years old. He fits right in between. And when they're doing things like going down a slide, something that frightens him, they wedge him between them. They are trained, and they know our cousin is just a little different than us, and so they'll wedge him in between them as they go down the slide and model for him, this is what we do. And the mother was so excited because he actually went to a birthday party And it was the first birthday party where he was still and he listened to instructions and followed along in the game playing. And she was just tearful because this was so new for him, and she took a video of it and sent it to me. So he's quite an amazing little man. But he has a lot of input from his parents. He's an only child. She is a stay-at-home mom, so her world really does revolve around pouring herself into her son. She's connected to some of the support groups for parents with children that are on the spectrum, and she is just amazing. This is her first time to homeschool him. She's chosen to homeschool him, and her reason is when he was in the public school system in preschool, he models, and he's so acute to picking up, and if the other children had like hand flapping tendencies or stimming patterns, he would do what they did, and she really didn't want him to do that, and so she's chosen to homeschool him. And I really feel in my gut this is that kid that, with this mother pouring herself into him like she is, would be able to mainstream, and I hate the word blend, but fit in and not be so obvious that he's on the spectrum. But I loved what she did. We got to the library, and the little 3-year-old walked up wanting to play, and she immediately said, "My son's on the spectrum." And the mother said, "Oh, okay," you know, and it was her way of saying, if my son does anything untoward or out of the way or unusual towards your little boy, please respect the fact that he is on the spectrum. I just thought that was really cool. But yeah, I'm enjoying the field work. I'm enjoying being with this mother and this little boy. One day we went to Panera Bread, and he colored pictures, and he was describing the pictures to me. And one of the things, and I'll definitely put this in my notes for the fieldwork notes, one of the things that really struck me as odd, he could answer the WH, who is in the picture, what is what is going on in the picture. But when he said, "Nemo's crying, Nemo is sad," and so I said, "Why is Nemo sad?" Oh my goodness, why is Nemo sad? And he just immediately went into scripting from the movie, and and then he and it sounded like gibberish, but it was quoting the movie in a very rapid fashion, almost like you take a tape recorder and you fast forward the speed. But he was telling me why Nemo was sad the best way he knew how, which is by drawing from his wonderful memory the script of the movie during that time when Nemo was sad. Fascinating little fellow. I've got to say, I'm enjoying it. I have enjoyed all of the classes, but I must be honest and say I'm not sad they're coming to an end. These 4 classes. I feel like I've learned immensely. I don't know how anyone on the planet could teach a child on the spectrum without taking some type of training or coursework. I just don't know how, unless you have wonderful mentors that guide you through this and give you a lot of helps. But anyway, yeah, so I hope I've covered everything. What am I going to implement? I'm going to implement modeling. I've already implemented the token board that goes with. I've already implemented prompting. Sometimes I have to prompt the little guy as I'm modeling him, and verbally, mostly verbal prompting. And let's see what else. I'm using the jelly beans as a reinforcer, and at the end I'm going to take my grandson and we're going to meet at the library. I'm going to model the 2 boys addition problems, because my grandson is 5 and he also is going to need to know how to add, because he's going into kindergarten, as well as this other little fella, my fieldwork guy, I almost said his name, is exiting kindergarten. So I will model addition for both boys, and I'll have my grandson repeat